Hey there, everybody. So I'm gonna do a kind of twofer. I'm gonna show you a different part of Lewis, Delaware, because I'm back here at the beach one more time for the year. And this is just the other side of the highway, but this is still a nice historic part of Lewis. And I also want to talk about something because I've really wanted to talk about it in context of other things that I've been talking about that revolve around the Civil War or attached to the Civil War, namely slavery. And also because I just happen to be here in Lewis, which was settled by the Dutch, and that's very important. So to tell you guys a little story or rehash some basic history, in the 16th and 17th centuries, there was a feud, a dispute in the Netherlands. And part of the Netherlands, of course, separated from the rest of Spain, from the Spanish Empire. Now, it happened that... It's a nice house. It happened that the recently separated or independent part of the Netherlands, the Northern Islands, happened to be very favorable and tolerant religiously to a certain group of people who at the time in other parts of the world were being persecuted because they were not Christian, A, or B, Catholic. And there's a lot more history there, of course, but staying on the subject, these people found a new home in the Netherlands, and they were very welcomed, and they became part of trade and commerce, very central to trade and commerce from that part of the Netherlands, the new Amsterdam, from then on. This may be familiar history to some people, but I'm just kind of going over the basics. Now we'll get to what people don't know, and I'll try to speed this up. There was a secret alliance with these people that was kind of kept secret. Those being the Jewish who were newly settled in the breakaway provinces of New Amsterdam. And they were kind of the, maybe not the, but a critical and integral part of the Netherlands at that point in history, and for the decades, and some would say maybe the centuries ahead. The alliance was originally formed because New Amsterdam, of course, had some naval knowledge, but they needed some more help, specifically in the matter of naval warfare. So here's where I'm going to break out the phone, show you some screenshots, although, of course, that doesn't work well with the GoPro. Oh, the lighting. So here, you can barely make out. I'm going to try to hold it away at first for clarity. You got cambridge.org at the top. So this very particular part of the information is coming from Cambridge University. And I'm just going to show a screenshot. This is going to be hard. This might not show up. Right there, it's fairly clear, so you could screenshot it and come back. But now I'll read it, or I'll read the important part. Let's see. In the eyes of more than a few contemporaries in the Iberian Peninsula and Iberian colonies, conversos and Dutchmen formed an unholy alliance in the early 17th century. Unholy alliance conspiring together Dutch conquest of Brazil, Brazil's capital of Salvador de Bahia in 1624. Confessions and accusations obtained by the Inquisitions of Cartagena de Indias pointed in the same direction. Several witnesses provided information about the Cofradia de Hollanda, the Holland Brotherhood, a crypto-Jewish organization founded to support the Dutch in their naval warfare on the Spanish, which was expected to usher in religiously tolerant regime in the Americas. So, again, maybe you can screenshot that and then expand it, or, crop it. But that is from cambridge.org. The article is called Chapter 36, the Jews in the early modern Caribbean and the Atlantic world, from part 3, Jewish world, circa 1650 to 1815, published in November 2017. So this is very important because I have to kind of keep moving ahead rapidly here. What were some other parts? Okay, so this is from Oxford. These are all from the other side of the Atlantic, but you probably kind of see Oxford at the top. There's the title, The Dutch Slave Trade in the Atlantic, 1600 to 1800. And in the summary, the important part is that while the Dutch's share of the Atlantic slave trade was really small compared to Portuguese and English at the time, only 5 to 6%. That 5 to 6% happened at a specific point in time. That point being when this area was founded in the early 1600s. So again, this article from Oxford, hopefully you can screenshot that, talks about it beginning in 1636, and mentions the Dutch West India Company. And that's also very important because that's when money and banking come in, and that's kind of another chapter, something I've addressed a little bit, but we're going to kind of try to stay on topic. Okay, so the last part. I've gone too far. No, I haven't. Where am I? Okay. This comes from Charleston EDU, and it's called Mapping Jewish Charleston. You should be able to get that screenshot right there, but what I'm focusing on is the second line. By 1830, some 83% of the city of Charleston's Jews owned slaves. This was in the South. This was in Charleston, 83%. Now, of course, they didn't make up 83% of the population. They made up a very small percent of the population. But the point being is that 83% of this group were slave owners. Now, before I say anything else, and I've got like 2.5 minutes, I got to explain something here. I'm not hanging anybody out to dry. I'm explaining history and certain parts of history that aren't talked about. Now, it might surprise some of you, but the community of scholars, of Jewish scholars, of historians, the community at large, the serious community, has been talking about this for a number of years now, you know, kind of recently, maybe let's say since a little after 2020. And of course, the typical response is always, well, it was just a needle in a haystack. It was just a needle in a haystack. You know, it was just a very small percent. It really wasn't that small, A. And B, of the, you know, I mean, well, it was, but it wasn't, okay? But it was in the places where it mattered. Again, like I said, in the city of Charleston, one of the biggest slave cities and trading ports and states in our nation. At the time, it was between Charleston and New York. There's a lot of people, well, some of you know, some people don't understand how many slaves were in the state of New York at one time. And I'd like to point out that both were settled by who? Ding. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I know this is going to be misinterpreted, but I have strictly stuck to the facts. Okay, I showed you the screenshots from Cambridge and from Oxford, and I have made no other statements, and there really are not, you know, there's not really too much more to read in here than what I'm telling you. But the point is, this part of the story is left wholly out of the conversation, and that's not right. That's not how this is supposed to work. If you're into history. See, Gettysburg is by far the only thing that I do. And again, hopefully this won't get posted, but if it does, understand one thing. I'm a regular guy. I'm much like most of you. I've just done a bit of research, and I've had a certain knack for it. And I have certain instincts. Again, my background is in the study of intelligence agencies and their history. and certain roads have converged, and certain roads have led to certain places, and I don't like it any more than anybody else. Okay, so understand that. I'm just trying to flesh out the picture and fish out certain lost parts, because there are lost parts that need to be told. So I'm going to go in this museum, and we'll see you soon. Hopefully I'll get a video here.